Imagine walking into a 1950s kitchen, checkered linoleum, a dinnertime jingle faintly playing, and the aroma of something warm rising from the oven. On the stove sits a simple casserole, noodles, tuna, peas, a creamy blanket of soup, and a golden crust on top. This humble dish once held the power to feed a family on a dime, yet today it has mostly vanished from the pageantry of home-cooked memory. It is time for us to resurrect it. The recipe we will explore is the tuna pea noodle bake with cheese crown. At first glance it may appear to be just another comfort food, but behind its unassuming exterior lies a story of wartime rationing, pantry ingenuity, and the rise of convenient cooking in post-war America. If we skip past this dish, we lose an essential piece of food history, the moment when kitchens across the nation embraced canned goods not as compromise, but as the backbone of everyday hearth. Stay with me, because what you are about to uncover is not merely a lost recipe, it is a cultural snapshot, tucked inside a baking dish. Stick around, because you will want to know how this vanished classic shaped what home cooking meant in mid-century America. Tuna pea noodle bake with cheese crown. It was more than a casserole, it was survival dressed in comfort. The tuna pea noodle bake with cheese crown became a quiet hero in American kitchens after the war, when every meal had to stretch just a little further. Housewives across the nation leaned on pantry staples like canned tuna, condensed soup, and egg noodles to create something hearty, filling, and undeniably homey. This dish first gained attention in the 1930s when Pacific Northwest newspapers featured early versions using leftover fish and noodles. But it was the 1950s that made it famous. Companies like Campbell's and Kraft saw an opportunity, marketing one-dish dinners that promised ease and thrift. Their recipe pamphlets taught millions of families to combine tuna, peas, and cream of mushroom soup under a golden crust of cheese and breadcrumbs. It was the taste of post-war optimism, warm, easy, and proudly American. Yet, by the late 1970s, this once celebrated casserole began to fade. The rise of frozen dinners, changing health ideals, and the stigma around canned ingredients slowly pushed it aside. What was once a symbol of resilience became labeled old-fashioned. But those who grew up on it remember something more than flavor, they remember family gathered around the table, laughter echoing through the kitchen, and the smell of bubbling cheddar marking another day conquered. The tuna pea noodle bake deserves its place in history, not just as food, but as a reflection of how America learned to rebuild, nourish, and find joy in simplicity. In every creamy spoonful lies a story of ingenuity, hope, and love baked right into the heart of the nation. In the 1970s, dessert was more than just a sweet ending, it was a statement. And nothing made that statement quite like the Brownie bottom cherry cheesecake square. This dessert was a showstopper, a layered masterpiece that combined the rich, fudgy base of brownies with the creamy elegance of cheesecake, all topped with a vibrant swirl of cherry pie filling. The origins of this dessert are rooted in the era's love for layered treats and convenience. The brownie base, often from a boxed mix, provided a quick and reliable foundation. The cheesecake layer, made from cream cheese, sugar, and eggs, offered a smooth contrast to the dense brownie. A dollop of cherry pie filling on top added a burst of color and sweetness, making each square as visually appealing as it was delicious. These squares became a favorite for potlucks, family gatherings, and holiday celebrations. Their striking appearance and delightful taste made them a go-to choice for those looking to impress without spending hours in the kitchen. The combination of chocolate, cream cheese, and cherries captured the essence of the 70s dessert scene, bold, indulgent, and unapologetically sweet. However, as the decades passed, this dessert began to fade into obscurity. The rise of healthier eating habits and the decline of elaborate home baking led to its decline. Yet, for those who remember, the brownie bottom cherry cheesecake square remains a nostalgic reminder of a time when dessert was a celebration, not just a treat. Potato bacon layered bake with onion crunch. In the 1970s, amidst the rise of convenience foods, a dish emerged that combined simplicity with indulgence: the potato bacon layered bake with onion crunch. This casserole was a testament to the era's culinary ingenuity, utilizing affordable ingredients to create a comforting and satisfying meal. The foundation of this dish was built upon layers of thinly sliced potatoes, interspersed with crispy bacon and sweet onions. The layers were generously seasoned and topped with a crunchy breadcrumb topping, offering a delightful contrast in textures. The use of chicken stock ensured the potatoes cooked to perfection, absorbing flavors and achieving a creamy consistency. This bake became a staple in many households, especially during the colder months. Its hearty nature made it an ideal choice for family dinners, potlucks, and gatherings. The combination of bacon and onions provided a savory depth, while the potatoes offered a filling base, making it both economical and delicious. Over time, as dietary preferences shifted and new cooking trends emerged, the potato bacon layered bake with onion crunch gradually faded from mainstream menus. However, for those who experienced its comforting embrace, it remains a cherished memory, a symbol of a time when meals were crafted with love, simplicity, and a touch of creativity. Today, revisiting this classic dish offers more than just a taste of nostalgia. It serves as a reminder of the enduring appeal of home-cooked meals and the timeless joy of sharing a hearty, flavorful dish with loved ones. Prune shake frozen dessert. In the mid-20th century, desserts were a playground for experimentation, and the prune shake frozen dessert emerged as a surprising favorite. Though prunes may not evoke instant excitement today, in its era, this frozen treat offered a perfect balance of sweetness and sophistication. Combining pureed prunes with cream, sugar, and a hint of vanilla, this dessert was whipped to a light, airy consistency before being chilled into a refreshing treat that delighted both adults and children alike. The prune shake exemplifies the ingenuity of home cooks who sought to transform simple pantry staples into something elegant and indulgent. It was not just about flavor, it was about presentation. Served in glass parfait dishes or molded into individual portions, the dessert looked as delightful as it tasted. The subtle tang of the prunes contrasted beautifully with the creamy base, creating a dessert that was both unique and memorable. This frozen treat became a symbol of ingenuity during an era when families wanted something both luxurious and practical. It was economical, easy to prepare, and visually impressive, making it ideal for family gatherings or social occasions. Yet, despite its charm, it slowly disappeared from common tables, overshadowed by the rise of modern ice creams, gelatos, and store-bought frozen desserts. Rediscovering the prune shake frozen dessert today allows us to appreciate the creativity of mid-century cooking. It reminds us that even the humblest ingredients can be transformed into extraordinary dishes, and that culinary history is rich with flavors waiting to be revived, one nostalgic bite at a time. Golden yolk sponge cake with eggshell decoration. The golden yolk sponge cake with eggshell decoration was more than a dessert, it was a celebration of elegance and whimsy in home baking. Originating in mid-century cookbooks, this sponge cake elevated the humble egg into a centerpiece, showcasing both culinary skill and artistic presentation. Its hallmark was a bright, golden yellow sponge, achieved through careful separation of yolks and whites and precise folding to create an airy, delicate texture. The decoration was where this cake truly shined. Egg shells, meticulously cleaned and halved, were often used as vessels for decorative frosting, tiny flowers, or colored sugar, giving the cake a sophisticated yet playful charm. This technique reflected the era's fascination with elaborate table presentations and the desire to impress guests at tea parties, birthdays, or special family occasions. The preparation demanded patience, precision, and a steady hand. It was a dessert that rewarded attention to detail, turning simple ingredients into a masterpiece. Butter, flour, sugar, and eggs combined in perfect harmony, while the golden hue of the sponge spoke to the warmth and joy of mid-century kitchens. Despite its beauty, the golden yolk sponge cake gradually disappeared from common practice, replaced by quicker, easier desserts as baking became more commercialized. Yet, its legacy endures in the hearts of those who remember the delicate artistry of home baking. Revisiting this cake today allows us to connect with a time when cooking was both craft and expression. Each slice carries the essence of care, patience, and creativity, reminding us that food can be both nourishment and art. Mushroom barley bake with carrot fronds. In an era when wholesome grains and vegetables began reclaiming their place on the dinner table, the mushroom barley bake with carrot fronds stood out as a hearty and elegant option. This dish was a celebration of earthy flavors, combining tender mushrooms, nutty barley, and aromatic herbs, all baked together to form a satisfying casserole that nourished both body and soul. Barley, a staple grain often overlooked in modern kitchens, provided a chewy, satisfying texture and a subtle, nutty flavor. Mushrooms added depth and umami, turning a simple grain-based dish into something comforting and substantial. The carrot fronds, delicately placed atop the bake, offered not only visual appeal but a fresh, slightly sweet finish, showcasing the mid-century emphasis on presentation alongside flavor. The origins of this bake can be traced to the rise of health-conscious yet practical cooking in the mid-20th century. Homemakers sought recipes that were economical, nutritious, and versatile. The bake could be served as a main course for vegetarian households or as a side dish alongside roasted meats. Its popularity in cookbooks of the 1960s and 70s reflected a growing appreciation for balanced, flavorful meals that were as appealing to the eye as they were to the palate. Although its prominence faded with the advent of more convenience-driven recipes, the mushroom barley bake with carrot fronds remains a testament to mid-century ingenuity in combining nutrition, texture, and aesthetic. Rediscovering it today allows modern cooks to reconnect with a time when every meal was crafted with care, creativity, and a touch of elegance. Cottage cheese and raisin bake with marshmallow crown. The cottage cheese and raisin bake with marshmallow crown was a striking example of mid-century American baking creativity. At a glance, it might seem like an unusual combination, but this dessert perfectly captured the era's fascination with contrasting textures and flavors. Creamy, slightly tangy cottage cheese formed the base, raisins provided bursts of natural sweetness, and a fluffy marshmallow topping added a playful, golden finish. Recipes like this were popular in the 1950s and 60s when homemakers experimented with pantry staples to create dishes that were both economical and visually impressive. The cottage cheese offered protein and creaminess, while the raisins, often soaked for extra juiciness, brought warmth and subtle flavor. The crowning marshmallow layer was more than decoration. It introduced a delightful sweetness and texture contrast that delighted families at dinner tables and holiday gatherings alike. Though simple in ingredients, this bake required precise timing. The marshmallows needed just the right amount of oven heat to turn golden without burning, and the custard-like cottage cheese layer had to be gently baked to maintain its delicate structure. Its presentation, often topped with a sprinkle of nutmeg or cinnamon, made it suitable for special occasions, from Sunday dinners to celebratory meals. Over time, modern desserts with richer chocolate, refined sugar, or convenience mixes replaced this delicate combination. Yet, for those who remember, the cottage cheese and raisin bake with marshmallow crown evokes nostalgia, a taste of a time when meals were crafted with creativity, care, and a subtle sophistication. Rediscovering it today allows us to appreciate the ingenuity of past home cooks who transformed humble ingredients into memorable dishes. Waffle iron ham and cheese squares. In the 1960s, convenience met creativity with the invention of the waffle iron ham and cheese squares. This inventive dish transformed a common breakfast appliance into a vehicle for a savory, portable snack. Slices of bread were layered with ham and cheese, pressed in a waffle iron, and toasted to golden perfection, creating crispy edges and warm, melted centers. The concept reflected mid-century ingenuity. Housewives and home cooks sought ways to turn ordinary ingredients into exciting, fuss-free dishes that could satisfy both children and adults. Ham, often left over from Sunday dinners, paired with cheese to provide protein and richness, while the waffle iron added a playful texture and uniformity that was visually appealing. These squares were perfect for breakfast, lunch boxes, or casual gatherings, demonstrating how culinary creativity could elevate everyday meals. Beyond convenience, the waffle iron ham and cheese squares were also a social symbol. They represented experimentation in home cooking and the era's fascination with multifunctional appliances. Recipes appeared in cookbooks and magazines, showcasing variations with different breads, cheeses, or added herbs, allowing families to adapt according to taste and pantry supplies. Though eventually overshadowed by the rise of microwave meals and prepackaged snacks, this dish captured a moment when simplicity, resourcefulness, and fun intersected in the kitchen. The waffle iron ham and cheese square reminds us that culinary innovation does not always require exotic ingredients. Sometimes it only takes imagination, household tools, and a desire to delight. Rediscovering it today connects us to a time when food was not just sustenance, but an experiment, a treat, and a shared experience rolled into one golden, crisp square. Raspberry lime gelid mold with whipped cream. The raspberry lime gelid mold with whipped cream is a true emblem of mid-century Americana. This dessert captured the imagination with its vibrant color, firm yet delicate texture, and the playful tang of raspberry and lime. Served in elegant molds, it transformed simple gelatin into a centerpiece that impressed both family and guests. Gelatin-based desserts like this one became popular in the 1950s and 60s as convenience foods entered the kitchen. Raspberry and lime flavors provided a perfect balance of sweet and tart, while the whipped cream topping offered a contrasting creamy softness. The mold presentation, often set in decorative bowls, emphasized the era's attention to aesthetics in entertaining. The recipe required patience, as the gelatin needed careful chilling to set properly. Once unmolded, the dessert gleamed with translucent, jewel-like clarity, making it as visually delightful as it was flavorful. Its popularity was fueled by its versatility. It could be a light ending to a summer meal, a festive addition to holiday tables, or a charming contribution to potlucks. Despite its prominence, this elegant gelatin dessert gradually disappeared from modern menus. Changing tastes, new dessert trends, and a move away from gelatin-based dishes contributed to its decline. Yet, for those who remember, the raspberry lime gelid mold evokes a sense of nostalgia, a reminder of an era when creativity and presentation mattered as much as flavor. Revisiting this dessert today allows us to appreciate the ingenuity of home cooks who transformed humble ingredients into memorable creations, proving that even a simple mold of gelatin can tell the story of a culinary era defined by charm, elegance, and delight. Beef stroganoff ring with rice nest. The beef stroganoff ring with rice nest was a masterful reinterpretation of a classic Russian dish, transformed into a showpiece for American dining tables of the 1960s. Tender strips of beef, sautéed mushrooms, and onions were bound together with a rich, creamy sauce, then arranged in a circular ring. The centerpiece was a perfectly molded rice nest, adding both elegance and a comforting carbohydrate base. This dish reflected mid-century fascination with presentation and the art of entertaining. Hostesses aimed to impress guests with dishes that were visually striking yet familiar in flavor. Beef stroganoff, already popular as a creamy, hearty dish, gained a new dimension when shaped into a ring, showcasing creativity and precision. The rice nest not only added texture and stability but also symbolized the care and thoughtfulness poured into the preparation. The recipe required attention to detail, balancing flavors, ensuring the beef was tender, and molding the rice properly. Once plated, the beef stroganoff ring was both a feast for the eyes and the palate, a statement of skill, hospitality, and culinary flair. Though such elaborate presentations have faded in modern casual dining, this dish remains a testament to a time when meals were crafted to delight multiple senses. Rediscovering it today allows home cooks to experience the blend of tradition and innovation that defined mid-century American cuisine. Every bite tells a story of families gathered around tables, of homemakers transforming humble ingredients into art, and of an era when food was both nourishment and a showcase of creativity. The beef stroganoff ring with rice nest is more than a recipe, it is a glimpse into culinary history waiting to be revived. Carrot walnut spiced loaf with maple glaze. The carrot walnut spice loaf with maple glaze is a timeless example of comfort baking from the mid-20th century. This loaf combined the earthy sweetness of grated carrots, the nutty crunch of walnuts, and warm spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, culminating in a fragrant, moist cake. The finishing touch was a glossy maple glaze, adding both sweetness and a subtle sheen that made the loaf visually inviting. During its heyday, this loaf was a favorite for afternoon teas, holiday gatherings, and weekend family treats. It showcased the ingenuity of home bakers who transformed everyday pantry ingredients into something special. Carrots, inexpensive and abundant, provided moisture and natural sweetness, while the walnuts added texture and depth of flavor. The glaze not only enhanced taste but also turned a simple loaf into a centerpiece, reflecting the era's attention to both flavor and presentation. Despite its simple ingredients, baking this loaf required patience and care. Grated carrots had to be folded evenly into the spiced batter, and the loaf baked to a golden perfection without drying out. The maple glaze needed to be poured at just the right moment to achieve a glossy finish. Although modern desserts often favor chocolate or frosted creations, the carrot walnut spice loaf remains a nostalgic reminder of an era when home baking emphasized warmth, aroma, and a personal touch. Rediscovering it today connects us to a time when a simple loaf could evoke comfort, family, and the quiet joy of homemade craftsmanship. Each slice carries the essence of a kitchen alive with love, care, and culinary tradition. Turkish stuffed pepper skillet one dish. The Turkish stuffed pepper skillet, a one-dish marvel, combined practicality with visual appeal, becoming a favorite for busy home cooks seeking hearty meals in the mid-20th century. Colorful bell peppers were hollowed, filled with seasoned ground turkey, rice, and aromatic herbs, and cooked together in a single skillet, creating a dish that was as efficient as it was satisfying. This recipe reflected the era's focus on economy and convenience. Leftover turkey or inexpensive ground meat could be transformed into a complete meal, while the use of the skillet ensured even cooking and minimized cleanup. Each pepper, stuffed and baked to tender perfection, became both a flavorful bite and an eye-catching centerpiece on the dinner table. The dish required careful preparation. Peppers had to be blanched slightly to soften, fillings seasoned and packed just right, and the skillet maintained at the perfect temperature to meld flavors without overcooking. The resulting combination of tender turkey, savory rice, and soft, vibrant peppers created a balance of taste, texture, and color that delighted families of the time. Though one-dish meals evolved with the advent of casseroles and convenience foods, the Turkish stuffed pepper skillet remains a testament to mid-century ingenuity in home cooking. It exemplifies a period when meals were designed to be practical, visually appealing, and satisfying, proving that thoughtful preparation could elevate humble ingredients into something memorable. Rediscovering this recipe today allows modern cooks to appreciate both its efficiency and its charm, reminding us that simplicity, creativity, and careful attention to flavor can turn a modest skillet meal into a culinary experience worth savoring. Lemon blueberry loaf with glazed drip. The lemon blueberry loaf with glazed drip is a nostalgic celebration of flavor, color, and mid-century home baking ingenuity. Bursting with tart blueberries and bright lemon zest, this loaf became a symbol of cheerful afternoons and family gatherings, offering both visual charm and a perfect balance of sweet and tangy notes. The loaf's appeal lay in its simplicity and versatility. Fluffy, tender cake was filled with juicy blueberries that burst during baking, releasing sweet, vibrant juices throughout the batter. A light glaze, drizzled over the cooled loaf, added a glossy finish and a subtle sweetness that complemented the natural tartness of the fruit. Recipes like this were popular in mid-20th century cookbooks, as they provided an impressive yet achievable dessert for both everyday meals and special occasions. This loaf demanded careful preparation. The batter needed gentle folding to avoid crushing the berries, and the glaze had to be poured at the right moment to create delicate, elegant drips. The result was a loaf that looked as delightful as it tasted, embodying the era's focus on aesthetics, flavor, and a touch of homemade sophistication. Though modern bakeries often favor cupcakes or muffins, the lemon blueberry loaf remains a nostalgic favorite for those who remember its fragrant, buttery aroma filling the kitchen. Rediscovering it today reconnects us to the joy of simple, thoughtful baking, where fresh ingredients, careful technique, and a final drizzle of glaze could transform a humble loaf into a memorable treat for family and friends. Old-school potato salad with French dressing twist. The old-school potato salad with French dressing twist is a true relic of mid-century Americana, reflecting both simplicity and subtle culinary innovation. This dish elevated the humble potato by combining it with a zesty French dressing instead of the traditional mayonnaise, offering a tangy, vibrant flavor that brightened summer picnics, potlucks, and family dinners. Potatoes, boiled until tender and cut into uniform pieces, formed the heart of the salad. Chopped onions, celery, and sometimes bell peppers added texture and crunch, while the French dressing, made from vinegar, oil, mustard, and seasonings, tied the ingredients together with a lively, tangy finish. This dressing provided a refreshing contrast to the creamy, starchy potatoes, creating a balance of flavors that delighted the palate. This variation emerged in the 1950s and 60s when home cooks experimented with classic dishes to keep meals exciting without adding complexity. It became a favorite for gatherings where presentation mattered. The salad, chilled and lightly garnished with herbs or paprika, offered both color and elegance on the table. Although modern versions of potato salad often rely heavily on mayonnaise or incorporate elaborate ingredients, this French dressing twist remains a nostalgic reminder of practical creativity. Its charm lies in its simplicity, tangy brightness, and versatility, making it suitable for both casual meals and festive occasions. Rediscovering the old-school potato salad with French dressing twist allows today's cooks to appreciate the clever adaptations of mid-century home cooking. It stands as a testament to an era when even the simplest side dish could be flavorful, visually appealing, and memorable, capturing the heart of family dining in every bite.